Okay, Jesus Christ is Lord. Yeshua HaMashiach is the Lamb of God. God bless y'all in the mighty name of the Lord, Yeshua, Jesus Christ. I love his name. I love the name Yehoshua. I love it. I love the name Yeshua. I love it. El Shaddai, El Elyon, Elemet. King of Kings, Lord of Lords. I saw Gino Jennings in a dream. He had a pimp hat in one part of the dream. He had a big, it was like he had a stage with, I would say, like clergy dignitaries, and they were like, it almost looked like the government. It almost looked like the Capitol, how you have those seats, like the chairman, and then you got the people to the right and the left, you know, almost like how you see in council ward fashion, like in the courts, or whatever, like, you know, you see it in court systems, courtroom rather. And this was supposed to be a church building, but this was like a courtroom. And in this courtroom looking type location, which of course was the temple of God, supposed to be, Gino Jennings had on a pimp hat. It was a furry, light blue, almost what they call baby blue, a furry baby blue pimp hat. And it was made out of fur. And he was very arrogant, very loud, very sporadic in his speaking and in his demeanor. He was like, you know, very animated, like, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? And he was like, you know, moving around all rough like this and all like that, you know what I mean? But he was talking. Me, I'm looking crazy. But he actually had words coming out. Now, those words didn't matter because the Lord didn't allow me to hear them. The Lord wanted me to focus on his demeanor in this particular situation. And so, hold on for a second. So anyway, he had on, like I said, and he was actually saying something, but it just doesn't come back to my memory at the given moment. And so, you know, he also had people who were with him. You know, those spokesman people, those people who speak for him, like his little speakers who, like, you know, read with him. They had pimp hats on too. They also had pimp hats on. And then I also saw, as he would move, his pimp hats would change. He had different pimp hats. One of them was kind of sparkly. I can't really recall, but one of them was sparkly. When you're dealing with things that are sparkly, and when you're dealing with things that are, like, you know, God deals with these certain colors like purple, blue. A lot of times have to deal with like royalty, you know. Sometimes people might, you know, bring that blue towards, like, you know, things pertaining to other things. But I'm not really picking that up on this one. And this one, it was more like a braggadocio, look at me, haughty, you know, look at me, look at my hat. Because, I mean, you know, it's one thing to have a fur coat, but it's another thing to have a fur hat, you know what I mean? and he didn't have on a fur coat. He only had on a fur hat. And you don't see fur hats every day. And it was like, you guys know that gangster. I don't recall his name at the given moment, but it'd be several pimps. Several pimps. I grew up seeing pimps when I was with my grandparents in Seattle, Washington. I would see pimps all the time. So I can't recall seeing a pimp hat, but they're big on furs. It don't matter. So anyway, one of the hats was kind of like black, but it had sparkles on it. It had sparkles all over it. And what else? And then he was like going to them and talking. It almost put you in the mind of the Last Supper picture. How everybody was like, near Jesus, and Jesus was in the center. Well, Gino Jennings was in the center, and everybody was like near him, and they were just like, it's like these were like the top people or whatever, you know what I mean? And everybody else was just in the seats, and it was real comical. It was real comical. It was like a show, but in it being like a show, it was also treated like a government. It was like a bragging show / governmental, because the way Gino Jennings comes across is serious, like he's holding the governmental positions of an ambassador of the government of heaven, the kingdom, the government of the kingdom of God, Jehovah. It's like he's presenting that type of, facade. But see, when you're always like, and I hate to say this because I'm also this way to a degree, I'm very comical. I like to laugh. I like to joke. But I think that there needs to be more fear of God when you're standing upon a certain position in a certain seat. You know what I mean? Me, I'm in the background. You know what I mean? And I don't play with the things of God. I tell people all the time, like, you have a million things to laugh at. Why are you laughing at that? I'm famous for this. People who are like me don't see me this way because they are like me. But like, I have also friends that kind of like are mocking type friends. I have friends who come off like they mock a lot and they joke a lot and they don't know what is funny and what's not funny. And they don't know how to turn things off and they don't have that respect. You know what I mean? And those are the friends that, I even have somebody who I have dear to me who mocks me personally. See what I'm saying? So, but then I also have friends who mock things of God, and I don't take towards none of them when it comes to it. I shut it all down, whether they're mocking like the things of God or whether, I only have one person who mocks me. But apart from that, it's like that stuff is not good. You see what I'm saying? Like, there's so many things to laugh at. There's so many things to joke at. There's so many things to pick away at and laugh at. And we have to be wise in what we're making laughs and jokes about. You know what I mean? Everything isn't to be laughed at. Everything's not funny. And so he was in this seat, you know what I mean, trying to be comical, braggadocio, arrogant, braggadocio, same thing, and sitting in a governmental seat of power. And it was very off-putting. And it didn't look like it was of God at all. It just looked very showy. And it didn't look serious. And they were all like that. They didn't care. Everybody was just laughing, But if he didn't laugh, they wasn't laughing. It was like they was waiting for him to laugh. And they didn't have enough guts to just turn it off and just shut it all down and say, no, I'm putting my foot down. This isn't right. This shouldn't be done. Nobody had that. And there was people to the left and to the right of him. And there was even people like under him in the front, like in the lower seat. You know what I mean? Like his seat was higher. He even had like a podium type of deal. And then it was like lower podiums to the left and to the right. And then it was like lower podiums also to the front. So it was just like a big crowd of people. And it was like we're the, the top people or whatever. And that's not the sin. The sin isn't that. The sin is just how they were operating in it. Because there's always going to be some people who have, administrations that you don't have. You know what I mean? You're going to go home and you're going to make macaroni and cheese and, go to bed, and you're not going to have to talk to anybody or be accountable to anybody. But you have people who are in these, seats of position who, you know what I mean? They have to pray for people when they go home. They have to pray for, they have to talk, about this measure. They have to talk about that. They have to look at this and look at that. They have the administration, the administrative seats, and they have to administrate and minister in these seats to the people, especially the larger the crowd, the more the work. Especially, So anyway, a lot of people don't know that because a lot of people aren't really close to people who have been pastors or so. But my grandfather's a pastor, and his father was a pastor, and when I was called, and I was up under pastors, and I was behind those rooms where pastors sat and talked about things that they wouldn't say to the crowd. And they do have a lot of work to do. They do have a lot of praying to do. They do have a lot of fasting to do. They do have a lot of warfare. So when you're joking and acting goofy and silly, no, you see what I'm doing? So when you're joking and acting silly and goofy, it's just not time. There's times for this, there's times for that. So anyway, I'm gonna wrap this up. What else? Oh, then I saw that grass was being cut. And I saw that he was paying for the grass to be cut. And I saw that, okay, this is the difficult part. Help me, Lord, bring it back to me. There was a big old huge, how people got those lawnmowers that are like industrial lawnmowers for like huge, like, for like you're doing the lawn of the White House, you're doing the lawn of the Capitol. You know what I mean? Well, anyway, it was somebody who had a lawnmower like that. And the lawnmower was cutting the grass in the surrounding areas of, I would say, his church, Gino Jennings' church. You understand? And he was actually paying for that grass to get cut, but he didn't explain it in detail of how basically he didn't fulfill the contract with the man the right way. Okay? This is very spiritual. And I might have to make a video because I'm going to go back to God about this and meditate on this and communicate with God about this. But I feel like I'm getting revelation right now because cutting grass is very spiritual. Cutting grass means there's order, okay? So, order's coming to Gino Jennings. And these are the outer courts of the church. But I'm going to say this, though. So I saw grass being cut in different diameters of surrounding the church, different, diameters. Like, it was like, I saw like, the street, how you can see street blocks with a bird eye view? Well, they have different diameters. And I saw